And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girlies, from upper class America to minimum wage employees,
Wherever you are, wherever you at.
from Jackson, Mississippi to your point on the map.
It's that kid, BT.
And JC2.
All right. Ooh.
We're going to be your Wednesday morning crew here on Super Squad T Live, where the T stands for, did you think we wouldn't surprise you with a flash stream? Well, you were wrong. We did it.
Is that what these are called? Flash streams?
I mean, that's what I'm calling it.
Okay, because in my mind, that means something else that you're not allowed to do on YouTube.
No, you can do flash streams, right? Like we did, like a flash stream. It's a total thing. What's up, Kimmy? Good morning, man.
We all know it. We all know it. Oh, man, we already got Kimmy jumping up in here. Nice.
It's going to be a good stream.
Nice. Yeah, doing a little Wednesday morning SSD stream. I think we mentioned before.
Featuring Dr. Pepper.
I think we mentioned before we're trying to do a few more morning shows.
Yep.
On SSD. It's a little bit more convenient to our schedules as of right now. So.
Yep, that's true.
Why not take advantage? Why not take advantage? We're doing this one this morning, planning on doing one on Friday as well. Hope that everyone will join us for that. But this morning we are discussing a little bit of Marvel animation.
Marvel animation, you say?
Yeah, that's what I said. This was your idea to talk about this. Why are you so surprised?
It's the showmanship.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't follow
the showmanship.
Well, I didn't know we were being showmen right now. The Greatest Showman?
I was going to break out into song from the movie, but I've already been yelled at one time this morning for singing violently loud.
All right, well, I'll be Zac Efron, you be Hugh Jackman.
I wanted to be Zendaya. Why can't I ever be Zendaya? Every time you make me be Hugh Jackman.
Because of the age difference between us. Yep. Go Sonics. I miss them every day. Yeah, so the other day, I believe it was on August 14th, Marvel HQ. I believe it was that because I have it pulled up right now and I'm looking at it. August 14th, Marvel HQ put up on YouTube Marvel Rising Initiation, all episodes. And it's all of their little promo clips for an upcoming animated movie called Marvel Rising Secret Warriors.
Which looks amazing.
Yeah, so we watched it yesterday in order to discuss it on the stream this morning. And I liked it.
I liked it. Normally the way we do things around these parts, if you're new,
we ask 3 questions.
3 questions. What'd you like about it? What you didn't like about it? And what's Tyler drinking? Nope, that was what Kevin said. My bad. Tyler's drinking Shark Dr. Pepper, the only flavor of Dr. Pepper that you should be drinking. No, and are you excited about it? So let's start off with you, Joseph.
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
What did I like about it? It felt significantly more like the early 90s Marvel shows that we enjoyed. In particular, it felt a lot like Spider-Man from the 90s, that particular animated show. Just kind of the animation style was a little bit more similar to it. The overall tone was pretty similar. This cracked a few more jokes, but I think that's because they were trying to really hit on what made Squirrel Girl a popular character. Her quirky kind of, not really like Deadpool level fourth wall breaking, but a lot of like self-referential humor and everything. My favorite line in the whole thing was, because if you haven't seen it, the gist is that Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider's being hunted by the authorities because they think she's a villain. And Squirrel Girl makes a comment, we don't know if she was a villain or not. It could have been a clone the whole time. And I think that is, pretty solid line. So it had a good amount of that, but it felt a little bit more like Spider-Man, the animated series from the animated Spider-Man from the 90s, just kind of in tone and style. But I mean, what about you?
Yeah, I loved almost everything about it. I mean, I think for me, agree totally with everything you said. That's what I was going to say. So I'll choose something different now. Jeez.
Why don't you talk about the cast?
I thought the cast was outstanding. I thought the fact that they actually got the actress who plays Daisy Johnson on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was really cool.
Yeah, Chloe Bennett in there.
That was great.
Dove Cameron as Spider-Gwen, who you haven't seen the most recent season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but she is in that one.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
yeah, she was fantastic. I really thought that overall, just the aesthetics of the show and the pace of the show were really good. Like the art style was good, a lot of popping colors, and the pace of the show, even though it was a bunch of shorts, worked really well. I'm super psyched about the movie that's coming out. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a bunch of shorts, I guess, that they compiled into this one full episode that is up right now, and you can find it on YouTube as like a promo, a lead up to it. But I like the fact that it kind of just felt like one episode that had commercial breaks in it, you know?
Yeah.
If you had told me that this was one show that aired on the Disney Channel, like in its entirety like that, and those were the commercial breaks, I would have believed you entirely. You know, it paced together pretty well. What about anything that you did not care much for about it?
I mean, this is like such a small complaint that it's a comic book fan complaint, but
I think I know where you're going with this.
In my mind, it's interesting that Spider-Gwen from the actual comics is just like an alternate version of Spider-Man, an alternate version of Peter Parker. And in her timeline, she got bit by the spider instead of Peter, and Peter actually became the Lizard and died. And Peter was her best friend, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that obviously they're trying to streamline this version of her to fit in with the rest of the Spider-Man, like the rest of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of made up a new friend for her, which I didn't really have a problem with. And I think it works in this situation. I wonder if they're going to try to do something like that in the comics, especially after the Spider-Verse movie comes out this year, strongly featuring her.
Yeah. Yeah, they changed. That was the main thing that stood out to me, was that they changed Peter into just a character named Kevin. I assume Kevin Saison from the chat here.
It's got to be.
He's the basis for that character.
Yep.
In which case, I'm sorry, Kev. But, you know, they changed it to a character named Kevin, and they tried to really harp on, like, this was like an unjust, like, murder of like an innocent like teen, you know, and Spider-Gwen's best friend, and it's really rocking, and to try to add the gravity to it. But I think that a lot of people, you know, if they had a complaint about it, the complaint was Spider-Gwen was an interesting character because it was an alternate take in which Peter Parker was not Spider-Man and he died. And to change that, like the core value of what a young character in Spider-Gwen, you know, it's kind of what I think a lot of people are looking at and going, that's kind of weird. But then it raises questions of where does it fit?
Yeah.
In the grand scheme
Where's
of Marvel.
Spider-Man? What's going on?
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see if they cover some of that in the movie that's coming out. But ultimately, I thought it was amazing. I loved almost everything about it. Like, it really did feel like a rewind back to what Marvel used to do in their animated series up until about 2010 when they released Ultimate Spider-Man and then the new version of Avengers.
Yeah.
Where they clearly, I feel like overall this was written for like a 12 to 14-year-old age bracket.
Sure.
Whereas I feel like most of Marvel's shows as of late have been written to like a 6 to 8-year-old bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, it really feels that way. It's bizarre. That's what's so interesting about both this and the upcoming Spider-Verse, you know, movie, big time movie, that it's evident that they're trying to make a push for some animated products that fit that older age range again, but it seems like their idea is that age range is more willing to watch a movie, either Spider-Verse like feature film or this being a Disney Channel movie, as opposed to like a serialized TV show. Exactly, which I think is very interesting. I don't know if there's something in market research that says that you know, that age range is more likely to watch a movie than anything else, but I'd be very curious to know what the market research or what the thought process at least is behind that. And good nicely done muting the mic before the cough. Like, that was very smooth.
Thank you. I got skills.
I don't know if anyone in the chat, I mean, I think it's just Kimmy and Kevin who have joined us in the chat so far, but I don't know if either of you have seen it. The whole Marvel Rising initiation kind of short film or whatever it may be. Be curious to know your thoughts, or if anyone is watching after this and wants to drop a comment on the video, that would be great, because we do keep up with the comments and try to reply to anyone who is popping in here. But was there anything else that you did not like about it before we move on?
I really loved it. I genuinely did.
I think if you asked me to nitpick, me being such a big Squirrel Girl fan, I probably would have nitpicked the fact that they kind of tried to force a lot of Squirrel Girl humor in a short amount of time. And I think that is only because she was only on screen for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that would not necessarily be a big deal in like the full movie version of it. So, now, are you excited? That's the final question, right? Our questions are what did you like about it? What, did you not really like about it? And does it make you excited to watch it?
I am extremely excited. I think that if this is the direction that Marvel chooses to go with their animated properties, that they will have a long and high-praised career. I hope that translates to dollars and viewers. That's what I hope, is that it translates to money for them, viewers for them, so that they're encouraged to do more of this. Because I think that Spider-Man and Spider-Man related things, and I've said this for literally years, but is one of the 3 biggest comic book properties of all time. And there's absolutely no reason that a company could not take something like Spider-Man and make just stupid amounts of money. And so I think it's a great avenue for them to pursue, for Marvel to pursue making some of these animated series and animated films, and Sony as well, because there's so much wrapped up in the live action Spider-Man and tied to the MCU, but you can do whatever you want in these animated films. And so I think it's a great direction for them to go business wise. And I hope to see a lot more Spider-Man stuff and offshoots like Spider-Verse and this in the future. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it makes me more interested in it for sure than I was initially, because initially I don't know if I even cared that they were making the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, you tell me, hey man, they're making a Disney Channel animated movie. I'm like, okay, sure. But then you actually tell me that it fits the tone of the stuff, a little bit more serious tone, a little bit less slapstick humor, like you were talking about with the 6 to 8 age range with some of the shows they have. Then that piques my interest more than anything else. And so after having seen it now, I'm like, oh yeah, this is something that I would absolutely, probably DVR and watch, when it comes out. I don't think I'm as excited about it maybe as I am into the Spider-Verse, because I think that just looks ambitious and very, very interesting. But I'm very much into it for sure. I would watch this in a heartbeat. I really would.
Sure.
Really, really would. Kimmy says we'll check it out later today. It's worth watching. I'll say that.
It definitely is.
Especially if you miss the 90s superhero cartoons that we grew up with. I think it has a lot in common with the Spider-Man animated show. I think just the tone of it does.
I agree.
And that just made me happy.
I was trying to see when the actual movie launches.
It just says late 2018 is all the info that I have in front of me here.
Okay. Well, late 2018.
Yep. Yeah. X-Men. I didn't mention X-Men the animated series by name here. Kimmy's bringing up X-Men as in terms of, ooh, that's a good sounding pour. That could have been in a commercial. I didn't mention X-Men because I didn't notice much in this show that reminded me of the X-Men animated series necessarily. I think it fit a lot more so with how Spider-Man felt. I feel like X-Men the animated series might be the benchmark for superhero cartoons. Maybe Batman right up there with it. For me personally, it's hard for me to pick, but there's something about the X-Men animated series that, because it was the first one that really did serious tone, serious animation.
That's funny because I put Spider-Man above both of those.
Do you? I think
it's really hard. They're all really close. It's really hard. They all excelled at different things.
Yeah, I feel like we discussed that on an episode one time before, but
I feel like you're right.
Yeah. Anyway, you should go
to know in the chat though, like what you guys think is the best 90s show out of those three.
Yeah, absolutely. Please. I get the feeling Kimmy might be going with X-Men.
Yeah, I get that strong impression.
Yeah, but we'll see. Marvel Rising Initiation. It was 6 4-minute long episodes released on August 13th on Disney XD, and now they've been put together and put on YouTube for everyone to watch. And go check it out.
It's pretty legit. So
this is a good point. Have you rewatched
10 years of Claremont storylines in the first 13 episodes? Jamie popping in here saying Rocco's Modern Life Omega Lol is the best 90s animated show.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that Rocco was a superhero, right?
Rocco's Modern Life was pretty good. Here's why I like Spider-Man. I know this is a super tangent.
Yeah.
Here's why I like Spider-Man the animated series. Because I feel like it was the first one, and maybe I just am remembering wrong because I haven't really gone back and rewatched a lot of the Batman or the X-Men animated series.
Okay.
But I feel like Spider-Man was the first one that actually serialized in terms of like overall story, as opposed to like only episodic, like one-off episodes of Villains of the Week. Spider-Man was actually a season-long story that like progressed. Like one season it was Spider-Man dealing with his second mutation and like turning into a spider, and like every episode it got worse, and it was all one big story, as opposed to individual like Villain of the Week episodes where Batman goes and stops Penguin, or it's a two-parter in Batman stops Penguin. I thought that just was totally revolutionary for me as a kid to be like, what? We can have an entire story span over a season? This is amazing.
I feel like X-Men did that, but I mean, it has been a little while since I checked out the X-Men animated series outside of rewatching the failed pilot, Pride of the X-Men.
What's your problem, bub? I'm Australian Wolverine.
Yeah, bub, I'm Wolverine. Outside of that, and my favorite scene in all of Pride of the X-Men, where Professor Xavier's laying on a table and he leans up and moves his legs, and just like the animators didn't know who he was when they were
didn't realize he was
like, who is this guy? Why is he here? Okay. So I feel like X-Men did that, but I could be wrong here. I could be wrong. But what I distinctly remember is that in the first episode of X-Men the animated series, Beast gets put in prison and Morph is killed.
Yeah, which was a really serious way to start a series.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Hey, so kids, you've been watching Looney Tunes. Now watch this. Dead.
So you've got now. Granted, it was Morph, and I don't think any of the kids knew or cared who he was. But
Morph, no.
So you've got the fact that, I mean, in an opening episode, they set up two things that affect the rest of the series. Because I'm pretty sure Beast spent the entire series in prison. I don't think he was ever out.
He definitely spent like a season in prison for sure. Yeah, that's a good point about the seriousness of the pilot episode.
Yeah,
like just straight up Morph gets killed by Sentinel.
All of superhero shows before X-Men the animated series were more like the 1960s Spider-Man, which was a villain of the week, and the animation itself was
Iceman. Did you forget to pay rent this week? Oh, gee, Spidey, I'm really sorry. I'll get right on it. Okay, I'm gonna web sling over to my Aunt May's house. She's making pie.
Yeah, it's like a sitcom, and it's just so weird. So X-Men the animated series brought in a much more like serious animation style as well, not just the tone of the show. So it was kind of the first one that does that, and I think that was one of the reasons why it is so significant. But if you had a pantheon, do you like that word, of the best of like the 90s superhero shows, I mean, it's X-Men, Spider-Man, and Batman the Animated Series
For sure.
for different reasons are all the top 3.
Yeah, totally agree.
If you ask me tomorrow which one I think was the best out of all of them, I'll have a different answer for you.
They all brought such important and unique genre-defining things that, like, it's really just splitting hairs. I did not know that, Kimmy, about that they could not use Sandman because of a movie, so they ended up using Hydro Man. That's really interesting. I guess Sandman and Hydro Man kind of fill the same bad guy role. They both can make themselves into some type of element and blast people, but that's really interesting. I did not know that. And yes, it did not end on a cliffhanger at the end of the series, which was fantastic. What's up, M. Scotter? In the morning. That was a theme song I gave you for free. Feel free to clip it and make that your voicemail.
That was which one is he? Spider-Man ended on a cliffhanger?
It did not.
Oh, it did not? Okay.
I mean, not really. It could. They ended it where they could have done more, but they certainly didn't have to. And boy, did they do more, because they relaunched it as a show called Spider-Man Unlimited that lasted 13 episodes and was pretty terrible. But I liked it, and I had the poster for it, so whatever.
There you go. Oh, that's right. I'm looking it up, and spoiler alert for a show that went off the air 20 years ago.
Plug your ears.
Spider-Man finished in 1998. Oh my gosh. But yeah, at the end of it, he in the last episode he does actually meet Stan Lee.
Yep, he does. Stan Lee gets to web sling around with him, and I mean, there was some pretty. You talk about some serious stuff. Like, there was some pretty serious stuff that happened in the Spider-Man animated series as well.
Yeah.
Again, spoiler alerts. Who cares? The clone of, like, Mary Jane dies, like, straight up dies, and it turns out she's a clone. So at the very end, like, he goes off to try to find the real Mary Jane who had disappeared seasons earlier. But yeah, like, that's pretty traumatizing. Like,
it is.
It is. I think we're just gonna have to do a theme song episode.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. You're just gonna have to keep writing theme songs. This is you started a nasty trend here.
I have. That was Towers right there.
That was loud.
Clip it. Clip it.
That was loud. Yeah, it seems like I'm trying to see if there's any shows that did end on a cliffhanger, and it seems like
Silver Surfer and then
Silver Surfer's the only one.
Still bitter about Silver Surfer. Planet explodes. Silver Surfer and Thanos are facing each other, and Silver Surfer's like, "Thanos, your time of reckoning has come," and Thanos is like, "I will end your life," and it's like, dun dun dun. You'll never see this again.
Really? It does like the Mortal Kombat fatality?
Yeah, it did. Actually, like, Thanos sticks his hand down Silver Surfer. The screen cuts to black, but then you hear the word fatality. And you're like, who? Who died? Why?
Well, then it doesn't sound like a cliffhanger to me. It kind of sounds like Thanos brutally killed Silver Surfer, man.
I mean, will we know? I don't know. We need to find out.
And put it on screen. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see anything going back to Marvel Rising. Secret Warriors. I don't know if we're going to see anything that serious in this.
Yeah. I mean, his friend, her friend, I mean, spoiler alert for the first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Is dead. I don't know if I believe it. I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you haven't checked out Marvel Uprising, go check it out.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, that's the main thing here. Speaking of clones, a series that I've been reading in comics, in our segment we like to call "What Have You Been Reading Lately?" Sure. That sounds like something we would do.
It does. I've been reading a series called The Amazing Spider-Man. Not sure if you've heard of it. A little bit of an obscure title.
Yeah. And
I have caught up to where they did an event called the Clone Conspiracy. And it was a really interesting premise in that this guy, who's a mysterious villain or hero, we're not really sure, creates this process in which he perfects the Jackal's cloning techniques.
Okay.
But he can bring people back to life. He can, like, clone someone from dead cells, but also pick up their psychic residue and bring them back to life with all their memories. Like, so it's actually, I mean, essentially it's the person who died. Like they take their body, they regrow it, and they put back in their mind, essentially. And it's this whole idea of should they? And so it's they're not overtly bad. Like they're actually trying to help people, but then there's more stuff that happens. And
yeah. I mean, it's the overall lesson that we all learned from Jurassic Park. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, you know?
That's not the lesson I got. I got the lesson of Jurassic Park. If you can make dinosaurs, make dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like definitely make dinosaurs.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I haven't seen the Chris Pratt movies with Jurassic Park. So I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
seemed like the first 3 movies, everything went pretty well, if I remember right.
Yeah. Did you watch all of the movies, or did you just watch like the first 30 minutes and then do something else?
I mean, I felt like I got the gist after the first 30 minutes. Like they go to the park, there's a lot of cool dinosaurs. They see them, they pet them, and then I was like, this is kind of boring, so I just stopped watching.
Okay.
But I think I got the gist of it more than anything.
I mean, I guess that's fair. Yeah, sure. I mean, I wouldn't suggest going back to it now, but just because you seem like you're living a good life, and I don't want to.
You can't go wrong making dinosaurs. But Jay Sutton says, if making dinosaurs fails, just make more dinosaurs. It's really basic science. I don't know. Seems like something that would just be a no-brainer. How could that go wrong?
Of course not. Of course not. All right. If you guys who are in the live chat right now haven't seen the Marvel Rising Initiation short film, I guess, at this point, about 20-minute short film, go watch it. If you're watching this episode of Super Squad D live later, then go watch it. Comment on the video whenever you do watch it. Let us know your thoughts, whether you thought it looked good, what you didn't like, and whether or not you are excited about it. Because I just want to have your thoughts on that. We're going to have to wind this live stream down so that we can actually go and do our jobs.
Lame.
Which is so lame. But we'll be jumping back into another SSD morning show this Friday. That sound good to you, Tyler?
Sounds good to me. I'll see you guys then.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us this Wednesday morning. If you're watching later on, thanks for jumping onto the show later. You should have woken up earlier. That one's on you. We're going to go ahead and
as always, that's Tippy Canoe.
Yeah. And that right there is the Squirrel Wonder herself, Tippy Toe.
That's true. And as I bid you farewell, I want you all to know